Okay, we might kick it off. Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's Q&A webinar with RecycleSmart. I'm Carly, I'm Head of Operations here at Birchal, and I'll be moderating our webinar today. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land I'm speaking to you from. Birchal is based on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. We pay our respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples joining us today. Birchal's super excited to be working with the team at RecycleSmart on their upcoming crowdsource funding offer. A very quick reminder, everything discussed today is for informational purpose only and shouldn't be considered financial advice or a recommendation to invest. Please do make sure you read the offer doc and consider the general CSF risk warning before investing. We've got lots of you joining us today. If you're a new investor, a huge welcome. If you're an existing investor, welcome back. I want to take a moment to very quickly explain how the process works. So I am going to share my screen. Crowdsource funding, or CSF, is a form of fundraising that allows companies to raise capital from their communities of retail and wholesale investors. So put really simply, when you invest in RecycleSmart through the Birchal platform, you receive fully paid ordinary shares and you become a shareholder in RecycleSmart. So the question that we get a lot is, when can I invest? We're currently in the expression of interest phase. This is your chance to submit a non-binding indication via the Birchal platform that you're potentially interested in investing in RecycleSmart. From the 17th of June, the offer will officially open, and that's when you can choose to invest. The first 48 hours of that offer will be exclusive to those of you who have submitted an EOI before the offer opens to the wider public. During the offer phase, you'll have access to the offer document, which will have all of the final details that you need to make an informed investment decision. You can find out much more information on the Birchal site. And if you have any questions about Birchal or the process, pop them in the Q&A box and I'll make sure that one of us gets back to you personally. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. As for today's format, there's going to be a short presentation about RecycleSmart, and after that, we'll move to the Q&A. So if you look to the bottom of your Zoom screen, you'll see the Q&A bubble. Please drop your questions in there as we go. Finally, as we're recording today's session, if you need to drop off early, don't worry at all. We'll send the recording around after. That is enough of me. I'm very pleased to introduce the RecycleSmart team. So on the call with us today, will give us a wave. We have Giorgio, co-founder and CEO. We have Marco, co-founder and CTO. We have Alvaro, Chief Commercial Officer, and Tina, Marketing Officer. I also look forward to introducing you to Justin and James, who are strategic advisors of RecycleSmart and know the business very well. Without further ado, Giorgio, I will hand over to you to run through the presentation for us.
Thank you, Carly. All right, let me see if I can share my screen and we can go from there. Hopefully you can see a full presentation. Does it work? Yeah, hopefully. Yes? All right, cool. All right, guys. So I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes just telling you high level of what we're doing at RecycleSmart and explaining the business model in high level details. And then we can jump into the Q&A sessions. So it all started quite basic. It was actually myself driving this little scooter around Randwick and Waverley back in the day, 6 years ago. From that, we got to 65 drivers across the country in every state and in every major regional area. We raised $4 million to date, of which two from strategic investors and two from Birchal. So we've been on the Birchal platform twice. Key metrics, we can dig into this later. I just want to show you high-level numbers to give you an idea of the traction that we're experiencing at the moment. As you can see, we are sitting now on $3 million. April was $3 million in annual recurring revenue. And actually, the May's number, which came out this morning, and it was a bit late to update the deck, are even better at 3.4 million annual recurring revenue, which is a great achievement compared in terms of traction. So what do? We actually are recycling stuff that nobody wants, specifically soft plastics and packaging. So soft plastics, it's an issue that it represents almost 40% of your red bin in terms of volumes, and no one is really doing anything with it. So we are one of the few solutions in the country to recycle soft plastics. The regulations are pushing everyone to recycle more. Just to give you an idea, today we're recycling overall 60% of our waste, and there is a mandate to get to 80% in 5 years from now. We are kind of the missing link between the 60 and the 80%. So we are enabling councils to recycle the extra 20% from the waste stream. I don't know if you heard, but there's a lot of issues about fires starting in fire trucks and in transfer station, usually started by batteries being crushed. We target that as well. So we collect any type of battery. And we probably cover more than 80% of the market in terms of the tricky items. So if you need to recycle a tricky item in Australia, 80% of the market is covered by us now nationwide. Recycling is inconvenient, it's confusing, and it's the major issue in waste is so-called segregation. So it's dividing every item, right? So when you mix everything in a bin, it's very hard for anyone or any machine to divide it downstream. So all we do here is to use Uber drivers driving around the country, like kind of Uber drivers, so an independent contractors driving around the country, collecting all of these bags of items and dividing them in different streams. So we're creating here as clean streams of specific waste and then giving them to partners that would eventually process them. We work with 58 different processors that would, they would process every different type of item downstream for us. To simplify the message, since we raised on Birchal a year ago, we changed a few things. One of them is actually that now we collect anything dry. So the message for consumers is much easier. It's not a list of items anymore, but it's anything that is not wet or food or dangerous, like syringes or sharp items. But everything else, we take it and we have a solution for it. Almost everything we have a solution for, which is a much simpler message than before. The other thing we did was actually launching 3 different streams of revenue and different sizes. So now we cover every stream of revenue and every size. I just want to highlight here the XL pickups for consumers. So we launched a month ago in Sydney XL trial. So basically larger items. Think about mattresses, emptying your garage or a chair and so on. By the end of this month, we're going to have XL available everywhere in Australia. The way you should think is exactly as Uber. You have Uber X and then you Uber XL for if you have more people to carry, if you need a larger cab. So it's the same concept, and we're doing the same in waste. So XL available everywhere in New South Wales by end of June. How does it work? Super simple. Simple. You put everything in a bag or in a bigger bag outside your doorsteps, just in front of your door. You go on the app, which is being updated almost on a weekly basis. Actually, we're taking very good care of our app. And then you book the service, and one of our friendly drivers will show up in front of your house, pick up the bag, divide all the items, and drive to the next pickup. And then what they do at the end of the day, they end up in one of our warehouses that we have everywhere in the country, and drop off all these items. We're basically leveraging the gig economy as Uber does, as Deliveroo, Uber Eats, and so on. So we're just using independent drivers. They go around and collect all of these items for us and record all of these information from weight to type of items to the location and so on. So we actually know a lot about the type of waste that we're collecting. Just quick overlook, go download the app, play with it. It is a very friendly and customer-centric app, which is a great job that Marco did with his developing team. The opportunity is quite large. So waste in Australia is a $15 billion industry, and overall worldwide is a $1 trillion industry. So waste is a very large industry with not much tech investment into it. It has been doing the same thing for 3,000 years, probably longer. So it's putting everything in a hole and cover it with soil that we play in. So the opportunity is huge, and to be honest with you, it's not discretionary. You need to get rid of stuff on a daily basis, and this is only going to grow with a bigger population. So it's a growing industry, and it's not discretionary. In terms of traction, we're working now with 110 councils across the country, and we have actually $3.4 million in our recurring revenue. And if you look at the numbers, we have more than 1 million bags picked up to date. Happy to dig into the numbers later. I'll be more in details with you. We work with very large brands, from Westpac to Qantas to Lululemon to Comsol to Temple and Webster. So we work with very large brands in Australia, and we help them collecting items from their offices or from their clients as well. Just want to highlight a little bit of the former employer of Alvaro, which used to be a Qantas. We met him doing the negotiations with them, and just he jumped the fence and joined us as our new commercial officer. But anyway, we are now working with Qantas, where we are one of the 5 things you need to do to become a green tier member, and we're working towards giving points as well to every user for every pickup. Which will be probably 100 points, and it should launch around the end of July, which is a great news. So we're gonna gamify the whole experience. So the more you recycle with us, the more points you have, and it's a way to reward you for what you're doing. We have great reviews. You can check us on Google. There's always someone that is not happy with what we do, but overall we have 4.9, and we have, I think, more than now it's 2,000. Tina can dig into it. I think it's more than 2,000 reviews today, so which is a big number. Quick overlook to the team, very diverse, lots of different accents, as you can see, and different. We all have different experience, which is very suited for what we're doing at the moment. Why are we raising money? So we did what we said last year, which was scaling nationwide. So now we are not just in Sydney, but everywhere in the country. And it was to simplify the message, which was basically collecting everything dry in every size, and we did that. So now our product is much simpler to understand, and it's much more customer centric. Today, we're raising to be able to scale up our operations everywhere in the country, basically investing in sales and marketing to have more customers using our product. And the other thing is to increase our tech investment to have a better platform that can help us working with brands a bit more. So Qantas is the first of the large brands we want to work with, but we believe that being able to work together with other very large brands in Australia will help our traction and our growth rate quite a bit. Thank you so much. I hope I was into my 10 minutes allotment ahead, and I'm really happy to take any questions you have. Thank you, Carly.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Giorgio. Really looking forward to jumping in and asking you lots of great questions. Before we turn to the audience, I'd love to get the perspective of 2 advisors to RecycleSmart. So first, I'm very pleased to introduce Justin Frank. Justin is a strategic advisor to RecycleSmart and an industry expert. He is currently the head of strategy and comms at GoTerra and was previously chief strategy officer at Suez. Welcome, Justin.
Hi, Carly.
Justin, from your time leading strategy at Suez, a very large waste company, I'm keen to understand, how do you see the industry evolving, and where do you think RecycleSmart fits in?
Yeah, it's a great question. Thanks, Carly. The industry is definitely evolving. The linear economy as we know it is changing. So landfills are getting full. Sydney landfills are predicted to be full by 2030, same in Perth. And legislation changes are coming. So moving from a linear economy to a circular economy. So you see the draft infrastructure for circular economy plan released by the New South Wales government. You've also got the ACT circular economy strategy. The status quo as we know it, as the bigger players in the market know it, is changing. We've got to divert waste from landfill. It's got to go further up the waste hierarchy, so away from just disposal, more than recovery, but up to recycling and reuse. RecycleSmart fits in really nicely there. It's got a great brand, it's got a great following already, and a really great network, which helps both residents and businesses and now councils deal with those harder to recycle waste streams. So the bigger end of town that I used to work in are really focused on the larger streams, so your general waste, your cardboard and paper, your co-mingled, but they don't really provide those bespoke services for those harder to recycle items. The app and the tech that RecycleSmart have developed really sets them up nicely to plug into support the larger waste players and also help deal with some of their problems that Giorgio's mentioned in the presentation.
Awesome. Thanks, Justin. You've kind of answered this a little already, but keen to understand a bit more, what gaps in traditional waste services do you believe RecycleSmart is uniquely positioned to solve?
Yeah, well, I'm not just an advisor, I'm a customer, right? Because I live in the northern beaches. I've got a good bin system, but it only deals with 4 waste streams. So I've got a general waste bin, which is my smallest, thankfully. I've got a paper and cardboard bin, I've got a commingled bin, and I've got a green waste bin. So soft plastics, very difficult to find a place for them. You can't put them in the yellow bin. The MRFs or materials recycling facilities don't like soft plastics. It gets tangled up in that aged infrastructure. Batteries are a nightmare for the waste industry. We used to have 3 to 4 truck fires a year at Suez, which, each truck costs about 350 grand. And you only need 1 lithium battery to get through that process and into the MRF, and you can have a materials recovery facility fire, which we've seen plenty in the press. So an already overburdened infrastructure is at risk by people doing the wrong thing because it's confusing. It's not harmonized. So in different councils, you have different bin structures. So that's where RecycleSmart can really, really help. Whether it's batteries, whether it's textiles, and again, finding those homes. So, the shop that they've opened in Mascot's another great example of moving further up that waste hierarchy, getting to that reuse rather than the recycle piece, which we all need to do. We need to stop wasting. One of the most wasteful nations on the planet, I think 2.9 tons per year per capita. I think that makes RecycleSmart really attractive to the larger waste players. They don't necessarily have to invest in a different collection system. Yeah, they don't necessarily have to invest in the different processing because RecycleSmart can match those harder to recycle waste streams with off-takers that can either reuse them or recycle them. So a really interesting proposition, a very exciting time for RecycleSmart. And I think the pièce de résistance is the tech app that they've developed. I remember when Giorgio first came to see me in Suez, it was a bit more rudimental, but his passion for it stuck with me, which is why I chose to join as an advisor. And what the team have created is really something to be proud of and quite special, and a very attractive proposition as they continue to scale, taking councils, taking businesses, and taking residents that want to do the right thing and are more sustainably minded, and those that will have to do the right thing because legislation is going to make them.
And if you can just say a word, Justin was one of the very few people that actually helped us driving our product in the right direction when we started, because we really wanted to solve the issues in the waste industry, and Justin guided us into terms of what the big players actually want and they're missing out on, right? So what are the key things?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was, yeah. Thanks, Justin.
Thanks so much,
Pleasure.
Justin. Turning over now to James. So to introduce James, James is a partner at Antler, which is backing the next wave of great Aussie companies. He brings many years of experience as a C-level exec in high-growth tech companies, in his board roles, and also as a prolific angel investor. Hi, James.
Hi, Carly. Hi, everyone.
James, I'd love you to tell us what made Antler want to invest in RecycleSmart back from day one in 2019.
So we're looking for two things for like a founding team in the personalities, and I'll talk about the business in a second. You've kind of got looking for what we call founder DNA. So these are things like grit, resilience, creative problem solving, a willingness to jump over obstacles. I mean, just the initial story of like Giorgio being the first RecycleSmart, not just CEO, co-founder, but also picker-upper, driving through, that shows like a willingness to get things done, but also with the myriad of opportunities of B2B working with governments, when B2B2C, this means you need to have quite a creative first principles thinking as to where to start on the journey in something very big, very noble, but what the first few steps aren't necessarily wildly clear, and having that kind of like intellectual horsepower and understanding of the areas to how to go. And then the other area is we look for alongside the founder DNA is like a spike and a sort of passion for the area. So, when we invest, we know that this has been a 6-year journey. We expect this to be a 6-year and longer journey. That means like the team needs to have both the insight, but also like the passion, the desire that this is a problem that they want to solve, not just in the 6 weeks or 6 months after they initially doing it, but as we are now at that 6-year point. And of course, Giorgio and the rest of the founding team, you just have to speak to them to see the passion that they have about solving the problem, and they'll leave no stone unturned to getting there. So that's kind of the team side. Then let's talk about the problem space and the opportunity. Giorgio shared the big addressable numbers here, but I think what's what was particularly interesting for us at the point was there was multifaceted ways to start to take this. So there's the kind of the pure Uber B2C as the team started. There's what you've seen of layering on B2B2C. There's B2B. There's B2G on the government side. Like the routes to, there's not one sole way to be successful in this business. And that as an early stage investor, if you wind us back sort of 6 years, when it's harder to predict what the route should be, but understanding that there are multiple routes to success and that we had confidence in the team to be able to execute against those. And this is a big prize to solve, which has got kind of regulation following wins, consumer desire following wins, meant that what was true in 2019, we believe would only be more true as we went through the years. And that's what's come to pass.
Yeah, amazing. So just picking up then, mentioning that 6 years has passed, tell me a little bit more about how that investment thesis has evolved and what's driven Antler's continued support today.
I think it's being able to, firstly, this is like raising money and building businesses. It's not just to show the vision that gets storytelling, and vision works at the early stages. There's putting runs on the board and driving things forward. And I think if you look at consistently the numbers that Giorgio showed over the last 12, 18 months are pretty impressive. If you were to go back through time, this has been a consistent story of finding growth, improving operating margins, opening up new markets, whether through partnership or through technology development and other areas. They've been able to consistently deliver on the things that they have aimed to do, but also realizing what happens as you work through. So Justin mentioned maybe some of the earlier versions of the app needed a bit of TLC, but the team knew this, and this is about how do you ruthlessly prioritize to get there. And then the other theme which we have in common with Justin is we're also a customer. We're in a shared workspace where the overall building policy is probably not to our desire. That means we utilize RecycleSmart to go do that. So we get to experience it both as a customer as well as an investor, and this is sort of underwritten our ability to be backers all the way from day one through to now.
Awesome. Thank you, James, for sharing. Really appreciate you being here with us.
Thank you.
All right, now I'd like to open it up, and I'm excited to jump into all of your questions. So if you haven't already, please submit your questions in the Q&A box now. And I'd ask the RecycleSmart team to put cameras on and jump back on with me to dig into some of these questions. Okay, Marco, first question is going to be for you. We've had a really interesting question around how RecycleSmart is ensuring its use of AI improves sustainability without introducing significant new environmental costs, particularly around energy use and carbon emissions.
Sure, there's several points we can discuss about this. RecycleSmart doesn't train their own models, which is by far the most expensive operation that you could do within the field. And in terms of so we use already pre-trained models if we are talking about the latest advancement, LLM, and the famous AI sort of field that we're talking about. We use a ton of other I want to say machine learning algorithms which are definitely less expensive. They are data intensive so a data science structure that are optimized, quantized, and very, 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 very lightweight from that point of view. On top of that, we leverage on the cloud services that are carbon neutral. AWS and Google clouds are carbon neutral. So we do whatever we can to take care also of that aspect, when it comes down to technology.
Great. Giorgio, over to you. In terms of lobbying, is RecycleSmart actively working to influence packaging regulations or advocate for less wasteful product design? So especially through things like partnerships with councils, industry groups, or other stakeholders?
Yeah, we do involve with these kind of discussions. There's a few groups out there specifically targeting packaging and soft plastics, which we are having conversations with. So yeah, absolutely across all of it. By working with the government, 40% of our revenue is actually government, or it comes from the government. We are involved with all of these different stakeholders.
Great.
I was one of the major soft plastics collection businesses in Australia anyway. So yeah, we're part of that.
Marco, back to you. Uh, with regards to e-waste items, so specifically mobile phones and laptops, what measures are in place to stop theft of such items when people leave their pickup bags outside their property when they're not home?
Our drivers go on the spot and like they personally check everything that like they found. So there's like a first sort of like a personal arrival sort of check in place. It doesn't happen often, actually. I mean, in after like after like in almost like 5 years like a theft, it's not something that like as appear like on our radar. Definitely not specifically on items. I think like it could happen that like sometimes like people see stuff like on the road, and like in Australia it's very common to pick up like things from the street, but there's no specific like intention in that sense. So it's something that like we pay attention of like as everything happens, because our drivers are like trained to make sure that like nothing happens when they come and like and then see everything on the on when they arrive like at people's houses or like with businesses. But it's something that like we have not like had issues like whatsoever like in the past 4 years.
Okay, great. Alvaro, regional WA has woeful recycling. How long will it take you to get to regional WA? So we know that you're in various suburbs in Perth, but tell us a little bit about the plan to expand into other regions.
We're actually talking to a group called WALGA, which is the WA Local Government Authority kind of group, and I'm actually speaking to them and tendering, because I've been asked to tender. So we put in a tender together to be part of the supplier model, supplier list. So we'll be able to hopefully be helping out regional WA probably very soon in next couple of months or so. I mean, stay tuned, but yeah, we put in the tender together, so
Amazing.
that's yes.
Good news. Giorgio, how do you see yourselves at RecycleSmart traveling compared to your various competitors?
I would say quite well. A few years ago, there were quite a few more players. Some of them left the industry, and I think at scale, for what we do, we are the major company by far. There's other players targeting specific streams like only government work or only textile work, for example. But in terms of what we do, I think we have quite a unique proposition. And this is the reason why our revenue has been growing, like 15% a month in the last few months, right? Because the way we operate, which is customer centric, all together with the sorting, yeah, we probably have the yeah. I'm happy to chat this offline if they want, but like yeah, in terms of there's not much up there. You can Google it. There's just not much happening.
And why do you think that, can you comment a little bit on why larger players are not focusing on this segment from your
So
perspective?
larger players like the cleaner way of the world is like fintech to banks. If you're a very large organization sitting on $10 billion revenue a year, you're not going to target. And your story, your focus is like, asset intense industries. They own landfill, they own trains, they go to landfill, they own, warehouses, they own transfer stations and so on, right? So it's an asset intense business, engineering driven, no branding. What we do is almost super asset light. We only rent warehouses. We don't employ truck drivers. We don't own trucks. And we focus a lot on the consumer side, so on the branding piece, right? Which it don't. So it's exactly the same dynamic between banks and specific fintech in different side of the sector. We're doing something which is super light, tech oriented, asset super light, that big banks wouldn't even have the appetite for because they just play in a different game, right?
Alvaro, over to you again. Do councils in every state of Australia have to make commitments to improve by 2030?
They do, but obviously this is all subject to budgetary requirements as well. They have issues with budget, and that's why sometimes it takes them longer to get there. But there is some councils that are already on the way there and well ahead of the game, and they kind of contact us as well to kind of help them with that
Mhm.
collection of waste that doesn't go to landfill. So yeah.
Got it. And with local councils and your partnerships and relationships with local councils, how do you set them up? How does that work? How does that relationship form?
So they could contact us, and then we can work with them. And some of them are like jealous councils because they see other councils, neighboring councils, that are actually enjoying kind of the services that we provide, and then they contact us. But we also go proactively and contact them. And I many times I try to travel around the country to meet them in person because I think it's important, and show them how it works. We also offer them to visit our facilities and to explain exactly how everything works because I can see many questions about transparency. This is something that we take very seriously, and we want to make sure that everyone is comfortable and confident that our whole process is traceable, is transparent. There is nothing that we hide, so anyone can come and see our operations, and we can explain where everything goes as well. So yeah.
If I can add a couple of points on these,
Please.
I've been working with councils for like, I've been going to COF Saba, which is a waste conference, the largest waste conference in Australia since 2012. I've been speaking at the conference for at least 5 editions. So the council waste manager industry is quite small, and we're very well known in this specific industry. Like just 500 people working the whole, council waste manager industry. And we actually advertise as well on Inside Magazine and another waste magazine that is targeting that specific sector. So I would say that in that, in the world of the waste managers in councils, we're well known for what we do.
Great. Marco, over to you. Can you give us some idea around monthly active users and repeat customers?
Yeah, I'm not muted. Sure. Like on average, like we consider like an active user someone that like has booked at least once, like within like the last 60 up to 90 days, and so far we have like kind of 20,000 active users. So people that returns like within the time frame. And in terms of returning, like if we're talking about like a churn slash retention, with our main product, which is a monthly subscription, we have almost a 60% after 12 months returning users, which is definitely a lot because I mean subscriptions have way lower on average retention numbers, so it's something that we're pretty proud of.
Amazing. Alvaro, over to you. So getting some really interesting questions through here. So thank you everyone for these great questions. Does RecycleSmart have any plans to expand into the construction sector?
That's a very interesting question. Yes, we would love to, but we need to grow a little bit more. Obviously, we do work with the construction sector already, but just to collect a number of items. There is a number of bigger items like cement and other items that are a little bit more complex. So we kind of focus in on our bread and butter before we can expand on those massive bigger items. Like we also already collect metals, we already collect soft plastics, we collect, other type of items. But there is some construction materials that are a little bit more complex, not only to recycle but to collect and to bring to our warehouses. That's for sure.
And on top of it, Carly, we actually did some specific, what is last year, a client of a very large construction company in Australia, one of the largest, had a few railway sleepers, which is long pieces of wood. They come out of tunnels in Sydney, actually. And we found a recycler that was keen to use them for garden beds. So all of these pieces of wood were used for features in garden beds, which was good. So
Yeah.
it's not our core, but we try to really help them out.
Mm-hmm. Back to this transparency point, which is coming off a little bit. Marco, I want to understand, is there going to be any reporting or independently audited, ideally reporting available on what's still going to landfill from what's collected? How does that information data flow and how can people see it, if at all?
So the system like that we have put in place is call it like internet traceability system, and we're trying to track the whole flow from people houses all the way down to when we're going to deliver to whatever, like it's the third party, like for the specific item. So we track the whole journey. So far, like our our diversion rate, that's how we call it, like it's 98%. So anything, almost basically, it's actually 99 this month. So there's a very tiny percentage of items that we don't have a solution for as of today. So the way that we store like the vast majority of these items. So we keep track of anything that we can't manage like ourselves like as of yet, and we actively go and search for third-party recyclers that are like available that we can deal with. We try to expand our collaboration so that we cover the whole spectrum all the way down to hopefully 100%. But still, I mean, it's an evolving kind of system.
Point on the store piece, Marco, sorry, only one sec. We don't store in warehouse, you only consolidate items. And they gives us the flexibility to stop. So if there is any issue, soft plastic a few years ago, at some stage, no one in the country could process them anymore. We stop straight away. So by not having storage, but only consolidating them and then giving them away to partners, we don't get trapped into situations where you have a lot of material, you don't know what to do with it. But yeah, so I just wanted to comment on that because it's important. We only information, no storage of items. But yes, of information, of course.
Yeah. And Giorgio, sticking with you, how much of RecycleSmart's future success is dependent on government legislation and federal governments kind of having this softly approach to implementing recycling targets?
I wouldn't say much. There's three layers here, right? Layer number one is consumer oriented. So every consumer now is asking brands to be sustainable. The second reason why people leave or stop the service with HelloFresh is because it's too much packaging. So this pressure is going to increase over time, right? And we're actually capitalizing on it by offering a packaging recycling solution to any of large brands. Two, council's legislation is softly, but in reality, and this comes out of the last conference I was at 2 weeks ago, it's pushing really hard on federal governments, pushing hard on state governments to actually implement all of these different items. For example, if you look into FOGO, which is recycling food and organics, now it's been mandated everywhere in Australia. And so every council is implementing a new bin to collect food, right, from households. So it's softly to a certain extent. In some areas, the government is going really hard. And we're working with the EPA on that as well. Like the EPA is doing a great work in actually pushing all of these changes. So I don't think it will be that soft in terms of government. But anyway, we're capitalizing on consumer push, where people don't want all of this packaging anymore, right? They want to feel better. And people refusing takeaway coffee cups, for example, it's becoming a thing. They just don't want. They feel guilty about it. There's a lot of awareness of what it means using one item one time and throw it away.
Understood. Sticking with you, Giorgio, are there any strategic investors on the cap table, and are there any plans you can share in that space of strategic investment?
So yes, we do have a waste company that bought some capital a couple of months ago. The other strategic investor we have is Antler, which is following on this round as well. So they invest in every round. And the other strategic investor we have is a very large family office of a family that has a large construction business, which understands really well how government and long-term boring business work. They're going to follow us as well in this round. The other thing I can share is that we have active conversation with pretty much every large waste collection company in Australia to see when is the right moment to eventually get some of their capital on board, and basically smart capital that will open up a lot of opportunities for us as well. But there is definitely ongoing conversation, and there is a lot of interest in what we're doing.
Great. Alvaro, do you plan to install your collection stations around Australia similar to can collections type model?
That's not a model. Do you want to speak, Giorgio? Do you want to give? You wanted to answer that question?
If you don't mind, I can give you mine and then you jump in.
Please do. Please do.
Yeah. So I think this is referring to the CDS legislation, which is the Container Deposit Scheme, which was launched like a few years ago, right? So it started in South Australia many years ago. Then New South Wales followed up 4 or 5 years ago, and now everyone is implementing, even Tasmania. That is mandated by the government, paid by the bottlers. So the bottlers are actually chipping in 10 cents for every bottle. That means consumers are paying a bit more to have these cans, basically to give a value to all of these containers, right? Great scheme is working really well, decrease contamination by 90%. So you don't find bottles on the road anymore because they have 10 cents value. I don't think we can tap into that as well because that is mandated by the government, paid by the producers. So it means the soft plastics should be paid by Nestle every bag of soft plastics, which is really hard to measure. It's not a container. It's, you know what I mean? So that's the main issue. If you compare us to a collection to a CDS system, which is, I think, what's the question we're referring to.
Yeah.
Alvaro, please.
Okay, if I can add to that, we actually work with an association called Soft Plastics Stewardship Australia that are working actually with the manufacturers and with also the companies like Woolies and retailers, etc. And we're working with them to set up these new soft plastics collection points, but we would be using our own model of doorstep collection and business collections and etc., and then taking them to our warehouses to sort out and then send them to our recyclers. So yes, and then that would be, and this is the idea, and I'm saying this because it's actually in the public domain. The idea is that the manufacturers and retailers would actually pay for the collection and recycling of those soft plastics.
Great. And Alvaro, do you send anything to processors that send the goods offshore?
We don't send anything offshore at the moment. There is only, and just to be clear, soft plastics, they are all processed here in Australia. And we have several recyclers, not just one, several recyclers doing different things with them. And no e-waste or anything else except for some textiles. We are actually starting to work with some textiles in Australia that or companies, recyclers that actually convert the threads and the textiles into threads or whatever, or the clothing or other materials. But that industry is very incipient in Australia. There is very, very few of these people. So we do work with a company that is overseas, but it's B Corp certified. So we've got all the documents and they do everything by the book. A B Corp certification is the highest certification you can get to do everything in a ethical, in a real like business like and all the corporate way that you should do it following the regulation of Australia or any other Western country.
Mm. Great. Question that I think would be interesting to get each of your perspectives on. What do you see as the biggest threat or risk to the business, and how are you managing and responding to these?
Giorgio, please go first.
Great question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So look, being a startup in a space which we are creating, which is B2C to a consumer, is full of risk, right? Because it's not been done before. The way we do is new, so there's plenty of risk there. Now, we've been in this game for 6 years, so I think that we had much more risk a few years ago when the model wasn't proven. Now we're not a startup anymore, we are scale up. So the business model is working. We got clients paying for it, $3.4 million per year of it. So it means that we got the concept proven and now we need to scale up. Of course, anything can happen tomorrow. I might be hit by a bus, right? Who knows? There is always uncertainty and in any business, right? But I would say in terms of proving the business model, we tick the box. And now it's a matter of executing. There is risk in execution, but a bit less than proving a business model. And that's where we are now. We're at a level where we know that our business model works, we know we make money, and we know we can work everywhere in Australia. Now we need to make it happen. We need to scale up, which is the phase we're in. So, but yes, there's always plenty of risks, right? And I mean, it's inherently by being in business. Otherwise, yeah, it's the nature, I guess. Marco, do you have any other risk that you can foresee?
I think that it's a difficult business. I think it's like we're working with our hearts and souls, like in an industry that it's been struggling for years to evolve, to change its face. Like I mean, if you are in the startup world, like every day, like people suggest, like I mean, definitely the waste industry is like an industry that like it can be revolutionized. Like I mean, it can be disrupted. And we've been doing it, and it's hard, and it takes a lot of resilience, which again, as Giorgio was saying, like sort of like it's in our resume now. And so that is probably the things that gives me like the biggest confidence in a sense. And at the same time, the fact that like to put up, it's not just like generically difficult to like it's put up like an operational business, being a startup. right? Like being in something that starting from our very humble like origins. So Giorgio and I collecting literally the things from people's houses and developing to like this network of infrastructures, even though like they're very lightweight because we want to be lightweight, and so we can scale up, like reduce, increase sizes. It's something that takes like engineering, mindset, like again, logistical and operational, like sort of like structure. It's not something that you put up like from night to day. You have to adapt. You have to like go after the consumers like needs and intentions and all different things. So it's a big long process. We hope that we're doing like that we've done the best in order to achieve that. But that is what is giving me the biggest like sort of sense of strength in a sense
Yeah.
of what
I
we're
want to
doing.
add on, yeah, well done. I agree with everything you said. I want to add one more thing. We have a business that makes money. We prove that. So we sit on 50% margins on drivers and 35% operating margins, which means once you remove the cost of warehouses, dividing staff, we still make 35% margins, which is very healthy. These are tech startup margins. They're not industry, asset intense kind of margins, which are 10, 15, 10, 8%, right? So we build the business in a way that is easy to scale up without additional cost, and we enjoy healthy margins, which is very important. Otherwise, it's very hard to raise money and convince everyone to help us in this journey. But the business is built in a way that eventually at scale, which we are not yet, but at scale, we deliver 35% margins to investors.
Great. Alvaro,
You want me to add something
I would love
on
you
that
to.
one?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could say, like, the typical risks that everyone talks about, like, another entrant into the market, etc., etc. I think one of the big risks that worries me is the focus of people on items or on ideas or topics related to environment and sustainability, and the changing winds by, trends and, governments or, politicians or regulation, etc., etc. I think businesses, are worried about profits, but there are ideas that are important. We need to worry about the environment, consumers, governments, all at once, because there is only one Earth and one place where we live. Landfill, we hear here in Sydney that by 2030 it will be full, but it is difficult to change people's mentality, and I think that's the biggest risk to our business model or any business model that deals with environmental topics, because we are trying to change that mentality, but it is, it requires an effort from the other side, from the businesses, from the governments, from the consumers. And I think that's what we're trying to change. It's a risk that we are very aware of, and we're trying to kind of, work with people to make it easy. And that's why we're trying to make it easy. Go to the businesses, we go to the households and say, okay, here. And we're looking at other ways to incentivize people to do the right thing. That's kind of my.
And the way to counteract the risk is to create a easy, convenient business. So forget being green, just it's easy, right? And this is why now we collect everything dry and we take larger items. If you have a large mattress, it doesn't matter if you believe or not in saving the planet. You have a large mattress, you want to get rid of it. So of course we come from, we want to do the right thing with waste. That's where we build the business from. But if you think in terms of consumer approach, we are pink. There's no green in our logo, and the whole story is we want to be easy to approach, easy and very easy to use. Right? Remove any possible friction. If you look at very large successful businesses, are all gig economy players, so no asset. They're using someone else's car, someone else's contractor, and they're all about convenience. People pay $10 for the pizza delivered at the door. We want to do the same with waste. That's the key thing we're doing here. Make it so easy that you just use us because it's convenient.
Mm. And on that theme, convenience might be the answer here, but some of your competitors are not for profit. So how do you find your customers, particularly councils, view the RecycleSmart model compared to the not-for-profit model?
Exactly. We actually have a marketing budget. So we make money. By making money, I don't believe too much in building a large business which is not for profit, because then no one wants to invest in you, right? So if you actually make money, you have more marketing money, you can scale up, you can grab a bigger market share, and you can actually really solve the problem. This is why we are for profit, because by making money. We believe that making money is the best way to solve the problem because then everyone is really interested in it. If it's charity work, which is amazing, and we support all of it, but still, it's much harder to get people across the line.
Great. On the financial side, we need to be under a crowdsourced offer conscious around forward-looking financial projections that could be misleading. But I'd love you to talk a little bit more about some of the levers that you see for that future growth of RecycleSmart. So dig in a little bit more for us on where that growth is going to come from.
So not numbers, but you want to tell me about trends, right?
Yeah.
B2B is the fastest growing segment, which Alvaro is spearheading at the moment. So we believe that working with large brands, we keep growing. To give you a size of it, and these are past numbers, we went from $15,000 a month to $80,000 a month, B2B only. So this is in 12 months, right? So we went from 15 to 80 in 1 year, which is great. If you do the same next year, it's going to be a great success. The space is empty. No one is retargeting businesses in terms of helping them and their own consumer to get rid of packaging and all these other to recycle items. So B2B is definitely an area where we're focusing a lot at the moment. The other one we're looking really intensely into is the B2C. And the reason for B2C is we now play into the convenience place, a convenience in waste for B2C consumer means large items. I'm moving, I want to get rid of this stuff. How do I do it? So we want to grab users by solving them a problem when they have this large item issue and then converting them into regular users by recycling with us every month.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. And do you see your operating costs going down as you scale?
Absolutely. So as I said, at the moment it's 50% on drivers, 35% in net operating margins, and this is with limited synergies. To give you an example, we are large in Sydney, medium size in Melbourne and Brisbane. The rest is still quite small. So the cost of a pickup in Perth today is way higher than the one in Sydney. The day we achieve the same density of pickups in other large cities, our cost will decrease. So I don't want to project any forecast, but 35% today is a very healthy number considering that it's not using, that is not reflecting potential synergies from higher density of pickups in some areas.
Mm-hmm. Alvaro, we've got a question, noting that there's been some extreme fires in collection or storage depots that we mentioned earlier. Do you or your subcontractors have approved collection and storing depots?
We have approved, yes. That's the question. If we have approved, yes. Both us and our contractors and recyclers have approved fire. And yeah, all the insurances and fire regulations require, yeah, approvals. Yes. We are actually. I have to say, some of the fires were related to soft plastics. We don't have that issue because, as Giorgio was saying earlier, we do not store the soft plastics for too long, maybe a couple of days or 3 days, maximum a week, and then we take them to the different recyclers. And we don't have just one recycler; we have several. So we have. At the moment, we have 4, but I'm working with 2 others to increase the number of recyclers that we have to reflect the increased demand in collection of soft plastics. So that's one of them. We baled those soft plastics in our warehouses, and then we take them in a smaller smaller pallets, so we can take more to the different recyclers. The other issue that I know happens is the batteries. For batteries and vapes, we actually get them. The best thing is even if they are mixed with the soft plastics or with other things, we don't have compressors in our trucks or cars. So there is no risk for fire there. And when we take them to our warehouses, we separate all the items and sort them into streams. And we have specific bins. Anyone can come and see them where we put the vapes and batteries that are actually fireproof. And then we take them to the recycler that works into fixing those. So I think from a risk of fires or damage, etc., it's a very, very low risk. Obviously, anything can happen, but in general, our systems, our processes are actually very tight and very foolproof.
So to comment on that, one, EPA inspects our warehouses on a monthly basis in every state. So EPA is checking what we do and they approve it, they tick the box. 2 is, as Alvaro rightly said, we only transport very small amount of batteries for every pickup because no one has like 200 kilograms of pickup, the batteries by itself, right? So the amount is very small. And once they go into the warehouse, as Alvaro said, we have fireproof bins And we even store barriers in different ways. The very tiny barriers are put on a sticker. So we have like a tape where you put all of these tiny barriers, and then you have rows of these that you put in specific bins. If anyone wants to come to see our warehouse, we would love to show them what we're doing, which is super interesting. But yeah, the EPA is checking what we do and is ticking that box. So it's, yeah.
Amazing. It's probably a good segue, Giorgio, to say that we're having an investor open morning, coffee morning at the warehouse on Friday morning. So details will be sent out on that, but we would love to see you all have a coffee, chat with the team, get to see the warehouse, a really cool space, and really be able to dig into some more of these questions. I'm conscious of time, so we're going to wrap it up. There has been quite a few questions around the parameters of the raise. So what is the minimum investment amount? What is the pre-money valuation? What are the terms of the offer? So just to kind of jump in here and remind everyone of where we're at in the process, we're in that expression of interest phase right now. So we're getting market feedback in terms of those parameters. They then go into the offer document. So the full terms of the offer, the valuation, the share price, the financial statements are all going to be in that offer document, which becomes available when the offer kicks off on the 17th of June. Having said that, if you have specific questions for the team, I know that they would love to jump on a call and explore those further with you. There are some questions we didn't get a chance to answer today, so we will absolutely be getting back to each of you with answers to your questions as well. So I just want to pass over to the RecycleSmart team. Have you got any last words for us?
Can we circulate my email address later? So anyone who has a specific questions, any one of us is happy to jump on the phone. As you guys know, we'll be calling everyone that express interest. Text them. So we have 4 people calling. So I don't know if you got a call from me or from one of the other guys. But we're always available to discuss anything you want to know in details, one-on-one.
Marco, any last words?
No conclusion. So it's like I want to thank everyone who took the time to come and see us what we're doing. Yeah, we're gonna definitely take the time to answer to anything that we haven't had the time to answer to here. And if you have other extra questions, yeah, George and I, Alvaro, the team is here to to enhance transparency of what we do. Definitely.
Yeah, awesome.
And otherwise, come on this Friday, 8 a.m. in 1 Rickety Street, Mascot. Sure, Carly, we can distribute the address.
We'll send the details.
Yeah. 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Come say hi, and we're gonna show you the warehouse. There was gonna be coffee and chats with all of us.
Yeah. So a huge thank you to everyone for joining, taking time out of your day. We know you're busy. The expression of interest is open on Birchal. So if you haven't already, please jump onto the Birchal platform, check out the pitch video, the company profile, but also reach out to the team at any time if you'd like to chat. So thanks so much for joining. Enjoy your day, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.